All right, thanks, guys. It is a Max Value Friday at Brock Page Productions, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a moment. But real quick, guys, I just have to let you know that I went 4-1 on my personal bets yesterday on BrockPage.com. $1,000 bettors made over $2,600 just on yesterday's bets alone. We also improved to 2-0 in our last two board member tier package bets on that website as well. And if you want to access today's board member tier package bet, the link for that play is in the description section below. Now, if you want to see my current personal bet record, you can do that for free right now by going to BrockPage.com. It's located right there on the homepage. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on my YouTube channel and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. What I do on BrockPage.com is I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. And just remember here, guys, if you end up signing up for our board member tier package here today on BrockPage.com, you're actually going to get full access to every single package that I offer on that website every single day, all the way through the end of April. Now, we utilize the Patreon platform, and the way Patreon handles their billing is they bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. And I always tell folks at the end of every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. Well, there's nothing earlier than the first of the month. That's right, it's a Max Value Friday here today. If you sign up for a membership here today on this Friday, you're going to get access to that package all the way through the end of April. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some NBA free content here. We're going to go ahead and start off with the Mavericks taking on the Wizards. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Friday, April 1st, 2022. Happy Friday to you. The weekend's finally here. Dallas is -9 in this ball game. Totals 219.5. Now, Dallas won their last 3 straight. They covered the point spread in 5 out of their last 6. The Mavs also play some of the toughest defense in the NBA. They're actually in the top 3 in the league in fewest road points allowed. They also find themselves in the top 3 in the NBA in defending the 3-ball as well. Now, scoring-wise, on the other end of the court, Luka Doncic is averaging over 28 points a game, along with 9 boards, 8 assists. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson scoring over 16 points a night himself, along with 3 rebounds, 4 assists as well. They're taking on a Washington team here this evening who struggles scoring with the basketball themselves. They're currently in the bottom 5 in shooting the 3-ball, and they're also in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per game. Now, in addition to having a losing record against the point spread at home this year, the Wizards are also finding themselves, they're going to have to go to work here without Kyle Kuzma. He's battling a knee injury right now. Meanwhile, for Dallas on the other side, when it comes to the injury list, Burke and Brown are out. Ntilikina and Dinwiddie are questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, Dallas saw 4 out of their last 6 ball games fall under the posted total. They're also 21-17 to the under when traveling. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Washington saw 5 out of their last 8 fall under the number themselves. And in addition to that, they also averaged only 106 points a game in their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Dallas. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Dallas Mavericks -9 in the under 219.5. All right, next ball game I have for you. It is going to be Raptors versus the Magic, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Toronto's -10.5 with the total at 218. Now, the Raptors won their last 4 straight, and they lost only 2 games since March 6th. The Raptors have also played some solid defense on the road this year. They're currently in the top 10 in defending the 3-ball away from home. And they're also in the top 10 in fewest road points allowed. Now, scoring-wise, Pascal Siakam is averaging over 22 points a game, along with 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Meanwhile, teammate Freddie VanVleet, he's scoring over 20 points a game himself, along with 4 boards and 6 assists. Now, Toronto is taking on an Orlando team who lost their last 4 straight themselves. And they score fewer points per contest at home than any other team in the NBA. They've been terrible offensively. Orlando's actually scoring just 104 points a game in the Amway Center. And they do find themselves dead last in shooting the 3-ball at home. No real surprise there. Now, injury-wise, Suggs is out. Carter's questionable. Meanwhile, for Toronto on the other side of things, Watanabe is questionable for them. Flynn is also listed as out. Now, total-wise, Toronto's 6-3 to the under in their last 9 outings. They're also 22-17 to the under in their travels. Meanwhile, Orlando's averaged only 99 points a game in their last 10 meetings with the Raptors. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Toronto minus 10.5 and the under 218. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Pacers versus the Celtics, 7:30 p.m. East. Boston's minus 15 with the total at 225. But as good as the Celtics have been here lately, they did lose their last 2 straight. They also have a losing record against the point spread in the Garden. Boston's just 17-22 against the spread on their home court this season. They've actually had some difficulties offensively at home as well. The Celtics are currently in the bottom 10 in home scoring per game, and they've also have had some trouble draining the 3-ball in front of their home fans. Now, they're taking on a Pacer team on the other side of things who covered the point spread recently against the likes of Denver, Portland, and San Antonio. And as bad as the Pacers have been pretty much all season long, they're actually still amongst the better rebounding teams in the East. Indiana is currently finding themselves in the top 10 in the NBA in defensive boards per contest. They're also in the top 10 in road offensive rebounding. So doing a good job rebounding on both ends of the court. Now, scoring-wise, Buddy Hield's dropping over 18.5 points a night, along with 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Meanwhile, teammate Tyrese Halliburton scoring over 16.5 points a game himself, along with 4 boards and 9 assists. And, of course, stats for both of those guys are that pertains to their current tenure with the Pacers. But anyway, scoring-wise, the Pacers are in the top 3 in the league in second quarter scoring per contest, doing most of their damage in that second frame. Now, injury-wise, Brogdon, Batazzi, Brissett, and Jackson are questionable. Duarte's out. And when it comes to the number in this one, 3 out of Indiana's last 4 got over the line. They also went 7-3 to the over in their last 10 meetings with Boston. Meanwhile, the Celtics are 70% to the over in their last 10 outings themselves. I'm going to lean toward Indiana plus 15 in the over 225. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Kings versus the Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Sacramento's minus 1.5 with the total at 232. And even though Sacramento's banged up right now, they still got the W in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. And that includes a 3-point victory over this very Houston team, where they racked up 121 total points. Now, scoring-wise, the Kings do the majority of their damage in the second quarter. Sacramento is actually in the top 10 in the NBA in second quarter scoring. And speaking of offensive production, Harrison Barnes is draining 40% of his shots from downtown. 16 points a night for Harrison. Meanwhile, Davion Mitchell scoring nearly 12 points a game himself, along with a couple of boards. Now, they're taking on a Houston team who won only 3 games since March 9th, and they allow more points per contest than any other team in the game. The Rockets are also dead last in the NBA in guarding the field goal as well. When it comes to the injury list, Wood, Schroeder, and Gordon are all out for Houston. That's pretty much all their offensive firepower. Meanwhile, for Sacramento on the other side, it's Fox, Sabonis, and Holmes who are sitting out for them. Now, total-wise, Sacramento saw their last 3 straight get over the line. 6 of them to the over in their last 7. Meanwhile, Houston saw their last 2 straight get over the posted total themselves. 22-16 to the over this year at the Toyota Center. I'm going to go ahead and lean towards Sacramento minus 1.5 in the over 232. Next ball game I have for you in the 8 o'clock slate, it is going to be Clippers versus the Bucks, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Milwaukee's minus 7.5, totals 228. Now, Milwaukee won 4 out of their last 5 ball games. They've gone 26-12 straight up at home this year. When it comes to the scoring in this one, there's really not many in the game who do it better than Milwaukee. The Bucks are in the top 5 in the NBA in scoring on average per contest. Of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's averaging over 30 points a game now, along with 11 boards, 5 assists. Meanwhile, Chris Middleton scoring over 20 points a night himself, along with 5.5 rebounds. When it comes to shooting the 3-ball, Milwaukee's currently in the top 5 in the NBA in offensive 3-point percentage. They're taking on a Clipper team who's allowed 115 points or more in 6 out of their last 7 ball games. And when it comes to playing on the road this year, the Clippers do not play their best basketball while traveling. LA's won only 16 out of 40 away from home, and they're in the bottom 3 in road defensive boards. Now, total-wise, LA's gone 24-16 to the under on the road this season, and that's good for 60% in that particular category. Meanwhile, Milwaukee went 70% to the under in their last 10 outings themselves. I'm going to lean toward Milwaukee, minus 7.5, and the under 228. Next ball game, it is going to be Pistons versus the Thunder, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Detroit's minus 4.5 with the total at 221 and a hook. And following an inspired victory over Philadelphia last night, I actually think this is the spot where the public gets obliterated. A lot of folks have been betting on the Pistons, believe it or not, because they've been covering machines over the past month or so. But Detroit, they lost their last 2 contests when they were laying points. They failed to cover in those games. And when it comes to playing on the road, the Pistons got the W in only 8 out of 38 contests away from their home court. Now, offensively, the Pistons are averaging only 103 points a game away from home this year. Meanwhile, defensively, on the other end of the court, they're dead last in guarding the 3-ball away from their own arena. Now, they're taking on a Thunder team who's been covering machines here recently themselves. OKC's gone 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 outings, and they've done a pretty good job grabbing offensive boards this year. OKC's currently in the top 10 in offensive rebounding per contest. When it comes to covering the point spread, OKC's 23-15 against the spread at home this season. Now, they have also covered 66% of their ball games this season at any location. These guys are really getting the job done against the spread consistently throughout the year, regardless of how bad they are. Now, injury-wise, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Baisley, Dort, Gideon, Mann, they are all out for OKC. Most of those guys shut down for the season. Meanwhile, for Detroit on the other side, Bagley is questionable for them. Now, when it comes to the scoring, Detroit's all overs recently with the likes of Brooklyn, Portland, and Cleveland. The Pistons are also 21-17 to the over on the road. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City's 22-16 to the over in their own building. I'm going to lean toward OKC plus 4.5, keeping this one close. In the over, 221 and a hook. Next matchup, Suns, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Phoenix is minus 7, totals 229. Now, Phoenix won their last 9 straight, and they lost only 2 games since February 27th. When it comes to playing on the road, the Suns are currently 31-6 straight up in their travels. Devin Booker is averaging over 26 points per contest, along with 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton's scoring 17 points a game himself, and he's also averaging over double-digit rebounds. When it comes to shooting the basketball, Phoenix currently leads the NBA in offensive field goal percentage. They're also in the top 5 in shooting the 3-ball. They're taking on a banged-up Memphis team who's still going to work without the likes of Morant and Tilly. These guys also, they have guys like Adams, Jones, Jackson, and Bane, who've all been downgraded to doubtful. So it's not likely those guys are going to play either. And even though there's really not a ton to criticize when it comes to the Grizzlies, they do tend to give up a bunch of points late in games. They're actually in the bottom 10 in both third and fourth quarter scoring. When it comes to the total on this one, Memphis saw overs recently with the likes of Indiana, Brooklyn, and Oklahoma City. Meanwhile, Phoenix on the other side of things went 70% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Phoenix -7 and the over 229. Next ball game, it is going to be Blazers versus the Spurs, 8:30 p.m. East. San Antonio's -15 with the total at 221. Now, I typically have concerns about this huge number in this particular spot, but the Spurs have definitely been turning it on here recently. They got the W in 4 out of their last 5 ball games, and they're currently in the top 10 in the NBA in home scoring. DeJounte Murray's averaging over 21 points per contest, along with 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Meanwhile, Keldon Johnson scoring over 16.5 points per contest himself, along with 6 boards and a couple assists. And speaking of rebounding the basketball, the Spurs are currently in the top 10 in the NBA in offensive boards per contest. They're taking on a Portland squad who lost their last 5 straight. And they won only 2 games since February 16th. They actually posted a record of just 2-15 during that time frame. And they covered in only 29% of those ball games I just mentioned. And other than injuries, Portland's biggest problem this year has been their defensive play. These guys allow nearly 117 points a game on the road. They're also dead last in guarding the 3 ball. Now, injury-wise, Winslow, Hart, and Watford are out. Meanwhile, for San Antonio, Langford's out. Bates Diop is questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, San Antonio's 22-16 of the over in the AT&T Center. They're also averaging nearly 116 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Portland. Meanwhile, the Blazers are 20-16 of the over away from the Moda Center. I'm going to lean towards San Antonio -15, laying that huge number in the over 221. Next contest, it is going to be Timberwolves versus the Nuggets, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Denver's -3 with a total at 240. Now, the Nuggets won their last 3 straight. And they've done a real nice job shooting from the field this year. They're currently in the top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. And they're led by Nikola Jokic, who's scoring 26.5 points a game, along with 13 rebounds. Meanwhile, Monte Morris, he's drilling 40% of his shots from beyond the arc himself. Dozen points a night for Monte. When it comes to the scoring, Denver's in the top 10 in offensive points per game at home. Now, they're taking on a Minnesota team who's really done a poor job of playing defense on the road. Minnesota's allowing 118 points a game when traveling this year. They find themselves in the bottom 3 in defensive points per contest. Now, the T-Wolves are also allowing their opponents to connect on nearly 49% of their field goals away from home as well. And more recently here, guys, the T-Wolves lost 4 out of their last 5 ball games. They covered the point spread only once during that stretch. So these guys looked really good, the past month or so, past couple of months. But more recently, down the home stretch here, we're really seeing their defensive issues kind of come to light here. Now, injury-wise, Beasley and McDaniels are out for Minnesota. Meanwhile, for Denver, Najee's out. Green is questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, Denver's 23-14 to the over in the Ball Arena. That's good for over 62% in that particular category, by the way. Meanwhile, Minnesota on the other side, they're 28-11 to the over on the road. 72% in that particular category as well. Plenty of overs between these two squads. I'm going to lean toward Denver -3 and the over 240. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for Friday. It is going to be Pelicans versus the Lakers, 10:30 Eastern start time. Now, it's the Pelicans who are now -2 with the total at 230.5. This line actually flipped earlier this morning, flipped about 5 points. It was actually the Lakers who were the 3-point favorite when this one opened up. So we're seeing significant, heavy, and quick action toward the Pels. But I'll tell you this much, regardless of the line move, the Lakers simply just haven't been good enough lately. I don't care if they're laying points, catching points. The Lakers just haven't been good enough. They lost their last 4 straight. They won only 3 games since March 5th. Now, the Lakers' biggest issue is their health and their defensive play. These guys are in the bottom 5 in points allowed per contest. They're also dead last in the NBA in defensive boards per game at home. Now they're taking on a Pelicans team who won 6 out of their last 9 themselves. And they failed to cover only 3 times during that stretch. And when it comes to rebounding the basketball, the Pels remain one of the toughest rebounding teams in the game. These guys are in the top 10 in offensive boards per contest, top 3 in defensive rebounding per game as well. When it comes to the scoring in this one, CJ McCollum's averaging nearly 26 points a game with the Pelicans, 4 boards, 6 assists for CJ. Meanwhile, Brandon Ingram scoring over 22 points a game himself, along with 5 boards, 5.5 assists. And when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Pelicans are in the top 3 in fewest first quarter points allowed on the road. Now, injury-wise, New Orleans is mostly healthy right now. Meanwhile, for Los Angeles on the other side, LeBron and AD, they are both listed as questionable. Now, total-wise, LA saw unders recently with the likes of Minnesota, Toronto, and this very New Orleans squad. Meanwhile, the Pels are 24-13 to the under on the road this year, and that's good for 65% in that particular category. I'm going to lean toward New Orleans -2 and the under 230.5. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Once again, don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. And once again, guys, as I indicated at the beginning of the video, if you do end up deciding to get a package here today on brockpage.com, you're actually going to get access to that content every single day all the way through the end of April. Once again, it's a max value Friday. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. There's nothing earlier than the first of the month. And once again, guys, if you want to get access to every single bet that I give out on brockpage.com, you're going to want to sign up for my board member package. Not only do you get access to the board member tier bet itself, you're actually going to get full access to every single package, every single bet that I give out on that website all the way through the end of April as well. The board member tier is an all-inclusive package. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.